Hello everyone, welcome to the Realms of Infinite, otherwise known as Infinite Realms. Today I'm taking a look at the Beyond Earth's Mightiest Heroes. How do you go beyond Earth's Mightiest Heroes? I don't know. But this is Thor and Destroyer. Somehow Thor and Destroyer, Thor, who is one of the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, is beyond Earth's Mightiest Heroes. But yeah, anyway. So, taking a look at the Goldilocks one, Thor. And something to point out, of course, is that everyone forgets Eric Masterson, for a while, was Thor. No, not that they shared bodies. He was Thor. Which led to one of my favorite comic covers of all time, of Thor holding a big 50 caliber machine gun. Because Masterson didn't care about the rules. Anyway, I wondered about this figure since I saw pictures of it. And I noticed the little bare spots here. I wondered if it was just painted or if it was molded. It's painted. Of course, Hasbro's got to be cheap. Now, when you stand him right beside of the 80th anniversary Thor, gee, who designed that? Hint, hint. I'll give you a hint. He's got a lot of action going on right now. Anyway, when you stand him beside of the 80th Thor, first thing you notice is he's a little taller, and I think that's because the legs and the helmet. I don't know, maybe they were just trying to boost him up. But I do kind of remember Eric Masterson's Thor being a tiny bit taller. Now the major changes are, of course the head. They took two of the discs away from the midsection, and of course the boots. Those are the major differences. Now these boots, they kind of cheaped out on those. They just molded them in the plastic and didn't paint, unlike Thor, who had some paint at the top. I do notice too, though, that they seem really flimsy, and that's something you don't want in an action figure when you're trying to stand him up. Now, oddly enough, though the cape looks exactly the same, it does appear to be slightly different. Even though it's the same shape, yeah, I'm really confused by that. I don't understand. Anyway, this figure was used also for the Ragnarok, aka Thor, Thor from last year. I think it was a Target exclusive. It was okay, but I never bought it. Now, one thing I didn't remember is that, yeah, on the 80th Thor, his hair does kind of get in the way of his articulation. Same thing goes with Eric Masterson. So, okay. But, the other cool thing is, these are technically two different characters, even though they shared the same body. Oh my. But then again, for a little while, Masterson was Thor on his own, so he's technically a different character. Remember, this was the guy that was an Infinity Gauntlet. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. I don't like the cheaper plastic they used. You can really feel it in the elbows. It's still sturdy. It's not super gummy, but it's not as good a plastic as the 80th Thor. You handle these two together, there's a world of difference in how they bend and everything else. Of course, you got the inscription on the hammer, which you would come to expect from a Thor action figure. Would have been nice if they had included that little spinning hammer effect that Thor got. Oh well. Moving on, we have the Destroyer. And boy, I saw a really awkward review the other day that somebody was commenting on how big this boy was and kept stroking the figure and commenting how big this boy was, and it got really weird really fast.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, looking at this Destroyer, this is all brand new. I mean, there is no... I mean, where would reuse even come from for a figure like this? And he's got some pretty cool spikes. I was not expecting so many spikes on the Destroyer. That's really awesome. And yeah, he looks really nice. Is he really as big as everybody says? Well, let's stand him up beside a couple of figures. Here he is beside a Juggernaut. Okay. Yeah, he's not quite as big as Juggernaut. Let's stand him beside a Hulk. Human Hulk. Let's stand him beside a Blob here and... Wait a minute. So looking at him beside a Blob, they're around the same size. They've got different dimensions. Obviously, because Blob is fat and shorter. But I would argue these are pretty close to about the same amount of plastic. Now, wasn't the argument by the Hasbros that the Blob cost so much because he was a brand new mold and was never going to get reused? So looking around at this, the Destroyer with the same amount of plastic, and if you look at him, he's got a lot more detailing because there's a lot of recessed detailing and a lot of poking out detailing in the spikes. That's a lot more detailing, which, as we know, does cause price to go up. Isn't that what they tell us about premium figures? Is that you have to pay more because there's so much more detailing? Oh, I got one on that in a minute. But that'll be another review of another thing. So, looking at this, and then you compare the price of the Thor and Destroyer 2-pack to the Blob. Blob is only $5 cheaper. Blob has a lot less detailing. He only has a little marks of cellulite in his leg. This doesn't math. This doesn't make sense. And I know people are going to say, but, and I'm going to say, but the same thing you say for Blob is the same thing for Destroyer. And he gets another figure. So you're going to tell me a whole nother figure is $5 more? I mean, yeah, granted that figure's been reused, but there's plenty of retooling on that one too. So what gives? Yeah, it's pretty obvious when Hasbro thinks they can make a buck, they're going to do it. And it's pretty obvious when they know they're going to get reamed if they try to make a buck off of something. They're not going to try. I'm just saying. Not many people are going to talk about this, but I'm going to say it. This just proves to me Blob was overpriced. So overall, yeah, I do like this pack. I really dig the spikes and the fists. I didn't talk about the accessories much. There's not a whole lot in the way of accessories. Of course, you got the hammer. You got swappable hands for Thor. Swappable hand for Thor. Fist. You got two fists and a swappable head for Thor. I much prefer the one with the mask. And with Destroyer, you got two swappable hands. One's kind of grabby, one's kind of, the other's the fist. I mean, the Destroyer looks great. If you missed out on the Marvel Select Destroyer, yeah, definitely, I would definitely highly recommend this one if you want a Destroyer in your collection. It's a really cool figure. I'm good with Eric Masterson Thor because that was the last variation of Thor I really wanted in my collection. Now I might want an update of modern Thor, ironically named since he's only like 10 years old now. But, you know what I mean. Alright, that will wrap up this episode of Infinite Realms. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Go ahead. Alright, have a good evening.